They were shouting so loud, the neighbors peeked through their blinds. "Break it down! Break the door!" my mother screamed, her voice trembling somewhere between rage and heartbreak. My father, always the calm one, wasn't calm today. His hands shook as he grabbed the crowbar. My brother stood behind him, eyes wide, torn between fear and duty. The hallway smelled of stale paint and loneliness. Apartment 307. The place they believed belonged to their missing son. Me. For years I'd been gone. No calls, no letters, just silence. But someone had told them they saw me here, this exact address. That was enough to ignite everything buried under guilt, grief, and unspoken words. My mother's eyes burned as if she could melt the door herself. "He's inside!" "I know it." My father said nothing, but the look on his face said everything. We failed him once. We won't fail him again. Then crack! The lock snapped. The door swung open, and that's where the story should have ended, with a tearful reunion, a mother's hug, and a family healed. But no. What waited behind that door was the truth they never imagined. A truth that would rewrite everything they thought they knew about their son. You see, every family has its secrets. Some are whispered in anger. Some are buried in shame. And some, like ours, live quietly behind locked doors until someone decides to break them open. So how did we get here? How did a loving, church-going family from Wisconsin end up breaking into an apartment they believed their dead son was hiding in? And who, really, was living there all this time? To understand that, we have to go back. Back before the guilt, before the silence, before the door that refused to open, both the wooden one in that hallway and the invisible one between a mother and her son. Because this story isn't about breaking into an apartment. It's about breaking into the past. And trust me, once that door opens, nothing will ever close it again. So sit back, grab your coffee, and get ready for a story about love, guilt, and the haunting echoes of unfinished goodbyes. Welcome, story lovers. From where are you watching? Drop your city name in the comments. Let's see how far our story travels. Before the screaming, before the broken door, there was her, my mother, Linda Myers. Linda wasn't always this way, desperate, brittle, and ruled by fear. Once she was light, a small-town girl who believed the world was as kind as the smiles people gave you. Born and raised in Appleton, Wisconsin, she grew up in a house that smelled like cinnamon rolls and clean laundry. Her father worked at a paper mill. Her mother volunteered at the library. Sundays were for church and pot roast. Life was simple, predictable, safe. Linda had dreams too, quiet ones. She wanted to study social work, maybe even become a counselor one day. "People carry too much pain they never talk about," she'd say as a teenager. "I just want to help them unpack it." But life, as it often does, had other plans. At 22, she married Mark Myers, a mechanic with kind eyes and an old Chevy he promised to fix once life settled down. Life, of course, never did. Bills piled up. Rent went late. The Chevy rusted in the driveway like a monument to good intentions. Then came their first child, me. And with me came the beautiful kind of chaos every parent expects. Until the chaos turns darker than anyone imagined. At age 7, I started having night terrors. Screams in the dark. Panic attacks so bad they thought I was choking. Doctors said it was anxiety. He'll grow out of it. I didn't. The bills grew faster than I did. My father picked up extra shifts. My mother started cleaning houses on weekends. Every dollar went to medication, therapy, specialists, hope with a price tag. Linda stopped talking about her dreams around then. Not because she gave up, but because talking about them felt like betrayal when her son's life was unraveling. She used to tell people she was just tired. But tired doesn't begin to describe the weight of watching your child fade into something you can't fix. And when things got harder, she did what women like her always do. She turned herself invisible. She was the mom who made everyone else look okay. She baked cookies for school events she couldn't afford to attend. She smiled through overdraft fees. She hugged me tighter every time I had a breakdown, even though she was breaking too. My father, God bless him, wasn't cruel, just absent. Not physically, but emotionally. The kind of man who believed silence was love, And fixing things meant tightening bolts, not listening to pain. He'd come home, nod, and ask, "How was he today?" Like he was checking the weather, not his son's soul. Then the layoffs hit the mill. Mark lost his job, and pride doesn't stretch as far as unemployment checks do. The fights began small, whispers behind closed doors. But pain always finds a way to echo. You could work more hours. "I'm already working 2 jobs, Mark." "Well, maybe if we hadn't spent so much on doctors." And then silence again. Always silence. Linda took on an extra cleaning route at night. Sometimes she came home at 2 a.m. and just stood by my bed, staring. I used to pretend I was asleep, but I knew. She was making sure I was still breathing. Somewhere between all that exhaustion and love, she lost herself. Her laughter disappeared. Her reflection turned into someone she didn't recognize, a woman defined by survival, not dreams. And then came that day. The day that cracked everything wide open. I was 16. The panic attacks had turned into full-blown breakdowns. One afternoon, after an argument, I left the house and didn't come back. No note, no call, nothing, just gone. For weeks, my mother walked the streets holding my photo, asking everyone if they'd seen me. My father posted flyers on telephone poles that peeled in the rain. My brother Michael followed in silence, pretending he wasn't scared, pretending it wasn't his fault for yelling at me that morning. Days turned into months, months into years. At some point, hope started to rot into guilt. My mother stopped answering calls. My father drank more. My brother moved away, and that's when the whispers began. He ran away. He couldn't take it anymore. Maybe he's gone for good. Linda refused to believe it. Every Christmas, she set a plate for me. Every birthday, she baked my favorite pie and left a candle unlit. "He'll come back when he's ready," she'd say, forcing a smile. But inside, she was decaying, one memory at a time. The world moved on, but she couldn't. She started visiting the old places I loved, the park bench, the diner by the gas station, the abandoned tracks behind our street. Sometimes she swore she saw me there just for a second, standing in the distance. People said grief had made her delusional, but what they didn't understand was this. When you lose a child, your mind will invent any reason to keep them alive. So when years later, a neighbor told her they saw someone who looked exactly like me, same walk, same jacket, same nervous habit of touching his wrist, living in an apartment across town, she didn't question it. She just believed. Because believing was all she had left. And that belief, that desperate flicker of hope, was the spark that brought her, my father, and my brother to that hallway, to that locked door, to the moment where the past and present would finally collide. But before we get there, before the door and the truth waiting behind it, you need to know what really happened to me. Because while my mother was fighting to survive her grief, I was fighting to survive myself. She wasn't supposed to check his old email account. But grief rewrites the rules of reason. One night, when sleep refused to come and the house felt heavier than ever, Linda opened her laptop. The glow of the screen painted her face in blue shadows. Her fingers trembled as she typed in the password she swore she'd forgotten. It worked. The inbox was dusty with time, automated updates, expired subscriptions, old newsletters. Nothing personal, nothing human until she saw it. An email dated 2 years after his disappearance. Sender, unknown. Subject line, rent due tomorrow. Attached was a photo, blurry, taken from across the street. A man standing by an apartment window, his face half lit by a lamp. Same messy brown hair, same worn-out denim jacket. She froze. No, it couldn't be. Her son was gone. Buried in grief, declared missing, gone from every record that mattered. And yet here he was, breathing, living, paying rent. Her heart raced. She zoomed in on the photo until her eyes burned. That scar on his wrist, the one from the childhood bike accident, was right there. "Clear as daylight," she whispered. "Oh my God." "You're alive." Linda printed the photo, highlighted the email address, and ran the sender's name through every search engine she could find. A rental listing appeared. Apartment 307, Maple Avenue, Milwaukee. Her breath caught. The address wasn't far. A 90-minute drive from home, she could have ignored it. She'd ignored her instincts for years, and it never brought him home. So she made a plan. She told no one, not even Mark. The next morning, she called in sick to work, packed a thermos of coffee, and drove to Milwaukee. The city was gray and wet, the kind of weather that blurs truth into illusion. When she reached Maple Avenue, she parked across the street and waited. For hours, nothing happened, just the flicker of lights and the hum of rain, until the door opened. A man stepped out, tall, lean, same posture, same gait. She knew that walk better than her own reflection. It was him. It had to be. She gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. "It's him," she whispered, tears sliding down her face. "My baby's alive." But when he turned his head slightly toward her car, she saw something else, something that didn't belong. His eyes. Colder, sharper, different. Still, she couldn't turn away. She followed him, down the street, through a coffee shop into a small convenience store. He moved like someone used to being watched, paid in cash, spoke little, left quickly. And when he did, Linda noticed something strange. The cashier smiled at him and said, "See you next week, Eli." Eli. That wasn't his name. Confusion twisted inside her chest. Was he hiding? Running from something? Or someone? Back home, she told Mark and Michael. They didn't believe her. "Mom, please," Michael said, voice heavy with pity. "You saw someone who looks like him." "I know my son," she shouted, slamming the photo on the table. "You think I wouldn't recognize my own child?" Her husband rubbed his forehead. "Even if it was him, why wouldn't he come back?" That question lingered in the air like smoke. For days, Linda couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The image of that apartment haunted her. Then one night she made another discovery. The utility bills she called the company listed on the email. Pretended to be a tenant's mother paying a late fee. The representative read the name on the account aloud. Eli Matthews. Her breath hitched. Matthews, her maiden name. Coincidence? Or a message only she would understand? The next morning, she told her husband and son everything. The photo, the alias, the address. She expected disbelief. Instead, she saw something else. Fear. "Linda," Mark said slowly, "what if this isn't him? What if this is someone using his identity?" She looked at him, eyes wild. "Then we need to know who." That was the moment it shifted, from grief to determination. The pain that once paralyzed her now fueled her. So they drove together, mother, father, and son, on a rainy Friday night, straight to Maple Avenue. Mark didn't say a word the whole drive. Michael sat in the back seat, scrolling through online records, trying to find anything about Eli Matthews. Nothing. No social media. No driver's license. No trace. The building looked ordinary. 3 stories, faded bricks, cheap metal railings. But to Linda it felt sacred. She walked up to the 3rd floor, each step echoing like a heartbeat. Apartment 307. Same number from the email. Same number from the photo. She pressed her ear against the door. Music played softly inside. Jazz. A light flickered beneath the crack. She knocked. No answer. She knocked again, louder. "Hello? Is anyone there?" Still nothing. Mark whispered, "Linda, maybe he's not home." "I know he's in there," she said. "I can feel it." She banged on the door harder. Her voice broke. "Please, just open up. It's Mom." The hallway filled with her echo. Neighbors peeked out, whispered to each other. One of them, a woman in a robe, approached cautiously. "You looking for Eli?" He's quiet, keeps to himself. "Been here about a year." Linda's throat tightened. "Have you seen him lately?" "Yesterday," the neighbor said. "Came back with groceries, nice guy. But he always wears that same jacket, even in summer. Weird, right?" Linda's eyes widened. The jacket, the one he wore the day he vanished. That was it. No more doubt. No more waiting. This was her son who'd vanished, her son who'd never called. Her son who was now living under another name, behind this very door, but the lock wouldn't budge. Mark tried knocking, calling out, even pleading. Nothing, Michael muttered. Mom, maybe he doesn't want to be found. She turned sharply. Don't say that. Then came the sound. A shuffle inside, a shadow moving past the peephole. He's there, she whispered. He's right there. And that's when everything snapped. The years of pain, the unanswered prayers, the guilt, the hope, all collided in one furious moment. Break it down, she said. Now, her husband hesitated. Then lifted his shoulder, pushed hard. Once, twice. The door cracked. She screamed louder. Break down the door! This is our son's apartment. Wood splintered. Metal bent. The lock gave way, and the door swung open to reveal. Not a reunion, not an embrace, but something that made all three of them freeze in disbelief. The room smelled of cologne and dust. A single photo frame sat on the table, of them, their family. From 10 years ago, and next to it, a stack of letters. All addressed to Linda Myers, none ever sent. Break it down! Mother's voice cut through the rain. Her fists slammed against the door until her knuckles turned red. This is our son's apartment? I know he's inside. The neighbors peeked from their doors, whispering. Father stood silent, jaw tight, face pale. Beside him, my older brother kicked the lock once, twice, until it cracked open. The smell hit first. Cold air, dust, and something faintly familiar, coffee and cedar wood. We stepped inside, our footsteps echoing across the dim room. Everything was exactly how he left it. The books stacked neatly, his sneakers by the couch, the jacket still hanging by the door. Mother froze, her breath trembling. See? He lives here. He's just hiding from us, but there was no sound, only the slow hum of a refrigerator and the heavy rhythm of our hearts. Then she saw it, his photo on the wall. Not alone. He was smiling, arm around a woman none of us recognized. A baby in her arms, my mother's voice cracked. He had a family? Father stepped closer, hands shaking. There were drawings on the fridge, crayon hearts, messy handwriting. For Daddy. He picked up a framed picture from the table. The date on it was last month. Impossible, he whispered. He died 2 years ago. My brother stared at the open laptop on the table. A video paused on screen, security footage, dated yesterday. And there he was, alive, breathing, laughing. Mother sank to her knees. Tears ran down her face as she clutched his old shirt to her chest. He's alive. He's alive all this time, and he never came home? Anger rose like a storm. Years of mourning, of graveside prayers, of unanswered questions, turning into fire. She slammed the photo to the floor. How could he do this to us? Then, footsteps in the hallway, slow, hesitant. A key turned in the lock we had just broken. He stood there. The same scar on his wrist. The same eyes, but older, colder. For a moment, no one spoke. Only the storm outside filled the silence. Mom, he whispered, her body trembled. You're dead, she said. We buried you. He looked at her, guilt heavy in his voice. I had to disappear. Father took a step forward, fists clenched. You had a child. You built a life while we... I didn't mean for it to be this way, he interrupted. They were after me. I had no choice. What are you talking about? My brother shouted. We searched for you. We mourned you. And you were hiding? The tension snapped like a wire. Mother reached out, touched his face, half in disbelief, half in fury. You let your family die for you. He lowered his head. I thought it was the only way to keep you safe. For the first time, his eyes met mine. You shouldn't have come here. The baby's cry echoed faintly from the hallway, his child's voice. And in that moment, the truth was unbearable. He hadn't died. He'd just chosen a new life. Without us. Mother turned away, silent tears mixing with rain dripping from her hair. She whispered, Then we'll leave the same way we came, in pieces. No one spoke again. Just the sound of broken glass under our feet as we walked out. Behind us, the door he rebuilt finally stood open. Dear audience, if this moment broke your heart, hit that like button and tell me in the comments, would you forgive someone who faked their death to start a new life? I'm reading every reply. Weeks passed since that night, the night the door gave way, and so did every illusion we held about him. The world outside kept moving, but inside our home, time froze. Mother stopped cooking his favorite meals. Father stopped telling stories about our brave son. The shrine of his framed photo on the mantel now felt like a stranger's face staring back. For days, Mother sat by the window holding the shirt she took from his apartment. Sometimes she'd whisper to it as if it could answer. "I just needed you to say goodbye properly," she'd murmur. No one knew how to console her. Grief had turned into something quieter but heavier. Then one morning a letter arrived. No return address, just her name written in the handwriting she could never forget. She opened it slowly. Inside were 2 photos, one of his little boy smiling with the same dimple he had as a child, and one of him older, softer, eyes full of apology. There was no long explanation. Just a few lines. "You were right, Mom. I was wrong. I couldn't keep you safe, but I can keep you proud. Please tell Dad I named my son after him." Mother read it aloud through tears, her voice trembling but calm. Father said nothing for a long while, just looked out the window. Then he nodded once, a silent forgiveness only a father can give. Life slowly found its rhythm again. The pain didn't vanish, but it softened around the edges. Mother started volunteering at the local shelter, helping families searching for missing loved ones. She said it made her feel closer to him, like she was guiding lost souls back home. Father began fixing things again, radios, clocks, old furniture, as if mending the world could make up for what he couldn't fix in his own heart. And me? I learned something that day, that love isn't always about holding on. Sometimes it's about letting someone choose their own peace, even if it means disappearing from yours. Months later, a small package arrived from another city. Inside was a child's drawing, a stick figure family holding hands. 4 figures, one of them labeled Grandma. Mother smiled through her tears. "He told him about us," she whispered. For the first time in years, she placed the photo of her son back on the mantel, not as a memory, but as part of life again. Time didn't heal everything, but it gave space for forgiveness to bloom, quietly, like flowers after a storm. She never saw him again in person. But every year on his birthday, a bouquet of white lilies arrived at our door. No card, no note, just a reminder that love, no matter how fractured, still finds its way home. Mother doesn't wait by the window anymore. She looks at the sky instead, as if she finally understands that some stories don't end where you expect. They simply change shape, from pain into peace, from silence into memory. And that broken door? Father repaired it himself, not because we needed it fixed, but because it reminded us that even the things shattered by love can still stand again. Thanks for watching, story lovers. If this ending touched your heart, tap the "Ha" button and tell me, would you forgive someone who vanished to protect their family? Let's talk in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that stay with you long after they end.